Today, March 23rd, is the anniversary of the martyrdom of Bhagat Singh, Rajguru and Sukhdev. The Congress Party recalls their heroic contribution to the freedom struggle. Today, I wish to place before you a series of developments over the last few months, over the last few years, which indicates a clear pattern of undermining institutions in India. Institutions are hard to build and sustain, and a strong, vibrant democracy and economy requires strong, independent institutions. The nature of the institutions that have been attacked and undermined by this government includes constitutional institutions, regulatory institutions, academic institutions, the list goes on. Let me give you a few examples. Already, there is a lot of concern about the manner for the multiple times how the finance minister goes about using the finance bill to include all kinds of extraneous, non-relevant to the finance bill provisions, which essentially undermine the authority of Parliament, ensure that the Rajya Sabha will not get a chance to play its constitutionally mandated role in terms of examining and constructively critiquing legislation. And it also ensures that the entire process of parliamentary standing committees which scrutinize bills are also bypassed. Any time that the finance minister chooses to introduce provisions which should have been included in an amendment to the Representation of Peoples Act, an amendment to the Income Tax Act, an amendment to some other act, these are ways of bypassing Parliament, the Rajya Sabha, and parliamentary standing committees, and this must be condemned. This is not the way to move forward, and if this is the case, as a member of parliament in the Lok Sabha mentioned, why does not the finance minister put every bill in the finance bill, every provision, and dispense with the monsoon and winter sessions? We can get done with all legislative business in one shot, because nobody can really, they have a brute majority, and they can, and they will not be subject to the scrutiny of the Rajya Sabha and standing committees. When we think about other constitutional institutions that are being undermined by this government, the issue of how Aadhaar is being made mandatory in a very brazen manner comes to mind. Fundamentally, there is a Supreme Court direction which says that Aadhaar should not be made compulsory. There were only one or two specific instances where Aadhaar should be used. The original purpose of Aadhaar, when UPA brought it, was also to provide an identification, not to make it mandatory. And when you make it mandatory for Aadhaar to be there to file your income taxes, this also creates new problems. Non-resident Indians, because they are not resident, Aadhaar is given on the basis of residency, will not have an Aadhaar card. What about them and the taxes that they need to pay? If you think about all these complications, they could have been avoided by the government, the advocate, Attorney General, bringing it up in the Supreme Court and getting the Supreme Court to go along with a change in the way the Aadhaar process is going to go forward. Instead of that, you essentially have the government saying, who cares for the Supreme Court and its directions. When you look at regulatory institutions, we already saw during the demonetization exercise how a revered institution like the Reserve Bank of India was reduced to a mockery by this government. And that issue is not over, because when you look at provisions, for example, about electoral bonds, these are issues which come under the purview of the Reserve Bank of India and require changes in the RBI Act. These are things that could be debated. Even today in Parliament, I questioned the finance minister in Rajya Sabha on this whole issue of electoral bonds and whether that will open the door to anonymous donations by crony capitalists to political parties for various kinds of policy outcomes, to influence policy outcomes, without leaving any kind of trail, introducing more opacity. And he essentially will not answer that question, and he says it is a better solution than what we had previously. This is not a better solution. We will not know who contributed. We will not be able to follow the money and find out who influenced what public policy. And that is a dangerous development in terms of transparency for our democracy. If you think about other institutions that have been affected, you see that there is this other issue of academic institutions. Today, in the last few days, in fact, it's been emerging that Jawaharlal Nehru University will drastically cut down its intake. Why? Because it is following some UGC guideline which mandates so many students per faculty guide. Now, these faculty guides have had no problem in guiding larger numbers of students over the years. And when the UGC comes up with this kind of a number, just like the UGC came up with other guidelines which said you cannot do more than a 3-year degree, etc., the job of the government is to reach out to the UGC and essentially say, look, we need to provide a different kind of a response in different academic institutions, because some are entirely capable of providing diverse kinds of educational opportunities and providing enough and satisfactory guidance to a larger number of students. Instead, this has become a backdoor method to strike at JNU, strike at various student bodies there which would have expressed their opinions freely and critically of this government every once in a while. So this is the nature of this government's activities, a constant attempt to undermine institutions across the board. This is a dangerous trend, and this is something that must be condemned, and this is something that the Congress Party will fight in the House and outside. Thank you. Any questions? Well, it's a very important set of issues that we've raised. I hope the nation pays attention to what is happening to our institutions. Anyway, please continue, Aditi.
No, so I just wanted to understand why did a former minister of the order of Mr. S.N. Krishna, who was handling the foreign portfolio, a very important portfolio, move out of the Congress and join the BJP? It has been, seen in the past also in various states. You've been losing stalwarts to the BJP. Himanta Biswa Sarma in Assam, and earlier, of course, Haryana. Whenever there's an election, on the eve of election, top leaders just walk out of the Congress. What is it about the party that it can't hold back seniors?
See, I have followed Mr. Krishna's career from my childhood. He started his career in the Praja Socialist Party. He was elected to the assembly in a by-election in the 1960s, joined the Congress along with other PSP leaders, was elected to the Lok Sabha as a Congress candidate in 71, became industry minister in the Devarajar's cabinet in 72, went on to become a member of the Indira Gandhi ministry, Minister of State in post 1980, and later on Congress president in Karnataka, Speaker of the Assembly, Deputy Chief Minister, Chief Minister, Governor of Maharashtra, External Affairs Minister, but we have not been able to give him 3 positions: Prime Minister, Vice President, President. So maybe there is a possibility that those sorts of positions are on offer. There are some elections coming up. We do not know. Only he and the BJP leadership know what induced him to take this particular decision. But let me point out that in Karnataka, the BJP is desperately looking for a fig leaf. Who are their leaders? Their leaders are jailbirds and people who have a tremendously horrible reputation in front of the people of Karnataka. Yediyurappa has been to jail. Janardhan Reddy has just come out of jail. And who else? Katta Subramanian Naidu. I'm just giving you a list of their cabinet ministers. They're stalwarts, the leaders with whom they're going forward to try and recapture Karnataka. Katta Subramanian Naidu was in jail. Hartal Halappa, another minister, had to resign on rape charges. There were ministers who were caught watching porn inside the assembly. So the BJP, before the election, when it has no face of its own, is reaching out to cleaner Congress people with the hope that that will provide some kind of a camouflage for for their true antecedents, their true track record. And I think what you're going to see is that the people of Karnataka will not be fooled, and the BJP will meet a sorry outcome in the upcoming election.
Yeah, Smitaji.
To ask a follow-up to the same. There was a gap between Mr. Krishna quitting the party and Mr. Krishna joining the BJP. Did any senior leader of the Congress try to find out why Mr. Krishna was unhappy with the Congress party?
Mr. Krishna has a lot of lieutenants and right-hand people who he nurtured and mentored, who are senior leaders of the Congress in Karnataka. Many of them reached out to him and discussed issues, but he has chosen his own path, and we can only wish him all the best.
General Secretary will brief you on that.
Yeah, there are different meetings that have taken place, but I do not know specifically who all have met him. That I do not have an answer to you on that.
Neither.
सर उन्होंने कांग्रेस नेतृत्व की गंभीरता पे भी सवाल उठाया। उन्होंने कहा कि कांग्रेस को जमीन पे मजबूत होने की जरूरत है, लेकिन नेतृत्व में कोई गंभीरता नहीं दिखती कि पार्टी को मजबूत किया जाए।
I think if he had waited, had a little more patience, we would have discovered that there is a lot of internal effort that is going on for reorganizing the party, revitalizing the party, and Karnataka would have been a wonderful example of how we are going to not just reorganize and strengthen the party, but also deliver results which will change the momentum, just like Punjab has delivered a vote of confidence in the Congress party. We will see that Karnataka and a couple of other states that are coming up will also deliver the same vote of confidence. So Mr. Krishna should have been a little more patient. He could have seen the impact of these changes that are, and we could have used his advice and experience as well in that. Organizational changes. Yeah. Those changes will be spelled out by people who are responsible for those changes. I will be able to present those to you, sir, when I have the exact details with me. But there is a lot of not just introspection, but beyond that, a lot of work that is going on in terms of organizational changes to galvanize the party for future challenges.
Pradeep.
Yes. अभी कुछ आया नहीं है हमारे पास या
पता करके बताएंगे।
सरकार ने फैसला किया कि नेशनल कमीशन फॉर बैकवर्ड क्लास की जगह शैक्षणिक सामाजिक आधार पर आयोग का गठन किया जाए, जिसको कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल संवैधानिक दर्जा दिया जाए। तो कांग्रेस का क्या पोजीशन है इस पूरे मसले पर?
I think it's a good thing.
We need to study
Discuss.
it.
Okay. Yeah, this has just come up, I think, and so we will discuss this internally and then respond to you with a formal response. Yeah. We need to understand the contours of what this constitutional body entails.
Sir, you have just raised the issue of undermining government's initiative to undermine constitutional, regulatory, and academic institutions. Now, are you going to seek any legal remedy, particularly in context to Aadhaar, government making it mandatory for filing of returns and for
that also the party will examine, but essentially this is something that not just the party, but numerous other activist groups are taking up, both in the legal context as well as outside in the context of policy debates and discussions in the media and elsewhere.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks so much.